Hey, everybody. Really exciting and informative chat today with a leader from the global industry powerhouse known as TCS. Sujatha, how are you?
Hello, Ivan. Good morning. I'm very well. How are you? Great to be here on your show.
Thank you so much for being here. TCS is a company that's absolutely fascinating, as you know, better than I. And we have lots of questions for you and about the amazing work you do as CTO of the Communications, Media, and Information practice at TCS. I guess we used to call that telecom, but it's a little more complex and nuanced today. Maybe introduce yourself, your role, and your team.
Sure. Thanks for having me here this morning, Ivan. So I am the Chief Technology Officer for the Communication, Media, and Information Services Business Unit. As the name goes, it's a conglomeration of multiple different industry segments that we have today. So, of course, telecom or the telecom service providers form a significant segment of this. We also have large media companies. Media, of course, is very diverse. We're talking about media, entertainment, distribution segments, and gaming companies, and multiple different, companies in that sector that we cater to. And also information services, which are predominantly the companies which deal with data and decisions driven out of data. So it's a wide segment of industry that we cover today. And so I've completed my 25 years at TCS. I
Wow.
started off as I know. Started off as a developer, programmer, and then grew and played multiple roles, both on the delivery side, on the sales front, consulting, technology, and various roles that in this unit. And of course, I have had experience with multiple different industry segments as well, including retail, banking, financial services, as well as manufacturing and others. Before I took up this role in the communications, media, and information services unit.
Wonderful. Well, what a tour de force, 25 years at TCS. Tell us about that journey, maybe a little bit from the beginning to today. You've seen a complete evolution, revolution in the IT and services landscape. What was that like?
Oh, it's a massive shift. So I joined 25 years back. If I reflect back, I joined during the days when mainframe was the biggest vogue. So I started off my career with mainframes. So you can imagine the green screens that I started off with, and then we saw the evolution of object-oriented programming and distributed systems coming into the vogue then. And then we got into the era of service based architectures coming into the foray there, the SOAs and the others of the world. We started talking about reusable components and things around that, and then we saw the shift with cloud coming into the picture there, then cloud native, microservices landed on the screen there. Of course, AI with the classic AI, of course, started to take shape there, and we started, leveraging a lot of AI, traditional AI, as traditional AI as we call it today, with generative AI in the mix. And right now, of course, we are on the cusp of generative AI, and lots evolving in that space. So massive, of course, from the technology perspective, a huge, shift, I would say, and lots of learning on the way, and always keeps me on my toes, and I enjoy that.
Wonderful. And give us a snapshot of your mission within your team and beyond. Of course, we used to talk all about digital transformation. We're still not there. But what else do you do
Yes.
beyond consulting and services and products and so much at TCS? Give us an up-to-date perspective.
Absolutely, sure. So, as a CTO, of course, anything and everything to do with technology in terms of helping our customers as well as our larger teams embrace emerging technologies for our, helping our customers in terms of their digital transformation or, the business transformation that they underway in their organizations. That's the core of the work that I do. And as we speak, as you rightly pointed out, we are still living in an era where we see a lot of, legacy technologies continue to exist. We see, a lot of room for efficiencies and modernization, which is simplification, in fact. So one aspect, as enterprises grew and delve into new businesses, the complexity grew manifold, as you know, right? So simplification always becomes the most, paradigm, need for every enterprise, right? And the new technologies are, in fact, adding more to the complexity as we speak. So simplification by employing the right, technology in the mix is a big focus area. And cloud, as we know it, while we work with all, you name it, all the cloud service providers across the globe and partners, and we have great strong partnership with everybody, you name. But in terms of helping customers, how do they adopt cloud in the judicious manner, keeping a view with respect to not just what the best of cloud can bring to them, but also a view into how to control and manage the governance around the entire hybrid cloud aspects of it, right? And how to judiciously use the cloud in the mix. And of course, all the emerging technologies, in fact, with respect to while quantum is emerging in a big way, we are already working on quantum in terms of, where we can look at quantum technology in optimization specific to customer problems. Of course, with more virtual reality and, more embedded systems and technologies around that, how can we help customers more, in terms of the edge-driven, ecosystem, as you call it, right? So can bring more, use cases to life closer to the edge or closer to where the transactions or the action really happens, right? And of course, now with AI as the biggest talk of the town, and there's a lot of work that I'm personally driving with respect to AI adoption, both internally within TCS, within our teams, as well as how we are helping customers to scale the adoption on AI. So it's a wide gamut of things, Ivan.
To say the least, yeah, wide gamut, so much interesting work. Let's dive into AI adoption, both internally and what you're seeing with clients. Beyond the headlines and the hype and the news that you see every day, what are you seeing firsthand?
Sure. See, so the segment that I currently work for, which is the communications, media, and the information services, the industry per se is not new to AI. So we have been helping customers adopt AI in the last few years, whether it is in terms of driving more efficiencies in how they are managing networks, behind the scene, or in the facet of customer experience, so to say, etc. So now generative AI has brought in a lot more opportunities in terms of, how making that more explainable and more personal to the end user, right? That is what the whole facet of change that has come in. So the bigger, while as you rightly said, there is a lot of use cases out there in the market and, so much of literature around it as well. I want to highlight, to me personally, the biggest use cases are the ones which will have a significant material impact in terms of a revenue shift for the customer, or that which will directly impact the customer experience and the customer lifetime value. These are the two important facets of that, right? So the bigger use cases where generative AI adoption per se that I'm seeing biggest happening today is in terms of wherever there is a customer touch point, whether you're talking about a contact center as a premise wherein you have providing more cognitive capabilities, right? So how do we uplift the cognitive capabilities, provide more intelligence to the agent who is actually interacting with the customer, so that you take off that load of cognitive load off the agent and provide them more intelligence, so that they are able to better serve the customer, right? And in fact help solve the issues in the first pass resolution, right? So this is one, so this is being done in different ways in terms of what I would say. This doesn't displace the human in the mix, but it augments, or it kind of equips the agent to better serve the customer. So this is one area where generative AI adoption we are predominantly seeing in this industry sector. Secondly, one of the other areas that I see biggest adoption with respect to Gen AI as such is around the whole personalization scenario, right? In terms of the content, whether you're talking about content, you talk about data personalization, with it embedding content. Specifically, you talk about marketing, right? So that's an area where a lot of content generation actually happens, and how do we drive the whole value chain with respect to the whole, whether it's campaign creation to campaign execution. A lot of interventions that generative AI is able to bring in to both improve the productivity as well as bring more context-driven personalization into that scenario, right? And if I were to talk about the revenue generation bit, particularly if I see talk about one of our large broadcaster customers here, right? Particularly, they want to go, global, as you call it, right? So while bringing in a facet of localization, but at the same time, cater to new geographies as well, right? So the language translation, as we used to call it, right? It's not while you think it's straightforward, but how do we contextualize and personalize the content along with the language translation for the audience, right? So this is where a lot of tools that generative AI is bringing in can actually bring in that facet of contextualization. So contextualization is one very key aspect of it, right? So to anything to do with knowledge work, is the biggest area that we're seeing, generative AI, primarily getting adopted. But in the realms of it, we are also working with certain customers specifically around how do we infuse AI into the core product, for instance, to bring in a product differentiation. Particularly some of the customers in the information services sector who sell softwareized products to their customers, right? In the B2B segment, I am talking about, how do we infuse, generative AI capabilities to make it more contextual to those softwareized products, so to say. And of course, from the telecom side, in the core network, we are also talking about autonomous networks heavily in the industry today. So a lot of aspects with respect to, while it requires a mix of both classic AI as well generative AI. The whole generative AI has brought in that whole aspect of, providing information in a easily understandable manner, whether it is to the network operation personnel or the consumer of the particular data, right? So performance management, network intelligence, for instance, and things around operational management, for instance. So these are all some of the areas that we see in terms of that are the topics, I would say, in terms of the adoption.
Fantastic. A lot to unpack there. So many killer apps, amazing use cases. I use at least 8 or 10 different Gen AI tools in my little business every day. So I can only imagine as we scale that, the impact it will have on the broader, real big enterprise SME world. Let's talk about scaling. I mean, it's no small task to scale in a big enterprise, even like a company like TCS with hundreds of thousands of employees, to scale those use cases from experiments and trials to full production. What does it take to get that successfully done? Technology, economics-wise, security, compliance, all those things that you have to think about in the large enterprise.
No, absolutely, Ivan. So the last several months, as you would have seen, that has been a biggest phase of experimentation across the globe, and TCS is no different. So we have both internally within TCS some of the areas that we are internally adopting AI, as well as for the customers. We have been in done hundreds and thousands of pilots, basically, both from the perspective of experimentation of the technology as well as looking at the feasibility of the use case, right? So now we are at the cusp of what I would say calling that scaling from the POCs and the pilots into production, right? And one of the biggest facets is basically what we have done in the POCs, specifically with respect to whether it is on the tools or the technologies and the architecture. I'll call it architecture because the wider gamut of mix here. It's very distinct from what is required to scale in production. Production architectures require a wider gamut of capabilities, right? So when we talk about capabilities around models are not trained just for on a single instance, right? So we need to have a way to manage the models for a continuous basis. The model operations and the model management, the scaling of the model itself is a continuous activity, right? And it requires aspects around end-to-end observability to be brought into that whole mix there, right? Second aspect of it is basically the whole realm of the enterprise guardrails and the compliance side of things, right? What we do in the POC architectures touches upon a smaller facets of the guardrails, etc. But when you talk about going into production, there are a lot of other aspects, nuances that needs to be done. And the quality assurance and the testing aspect, there's a lot of effort that is required to go into testing, right? From testing for hallucinations, testing for biases, testing on model compliance, for instance, ensuring that there are no IP infringements, for instance, right? And a lot of aspects that needs to go into the entire guardrails side of the things, right?
So many opportunities to monetize AI. You talked about the contact center and customer experience, immediate ROI on implementing that for customers in all kinds of environments. Beyond that, how do you see enterprises potentially monetizing AI and getting that return on what would be a pretty big investment in tools and process and platforms?
Sure, sure, Ivan. So I'll take a specific industry in context here. In this case, the telecom industry. We've all known that the telcos, while they, the core of the business is connectivity and selling connectivity, to the customers, whether it's residential or for the enterprises. But telcos have also traditionally sold telco cloud, right? And today, if you look at large B2B enterprises, connectivity alone is not the ask of them from telcos. They require more closer to edge computing infrastructure, specifically those going on private networks and capabilities like that require more of infrastructure as well, right? So since telcos have been in the business of selling, telco cloud. Now, if you look at the AI spectrum of things, there is also, as you would know, in there a lot of geographies where there is a lot of demand for sovereign infrastructure, right? Sovereign infrastructure, wherein very localized infrastructure, and the computing infrastructure for AI is there's a huge demand for it, right? Both from enterprises, small and medium companies, as well as even startups, for instance, right? So where they require more localized, AI computing infrastructure coupled with connectivity, right? Coupled with connectivity as a realm. We are seeing a few of our customers, embarking on this proposition, where in terms of combining the power of AI as providing AI infrastructure combined with connectivity, right? As a proposition to both, whether it is a startup or the enterprise localized, right? So this brings in both basically more secure, more sovereign infrastructure, which the enterprises are more feel more secure about in terms of putting the AI workloads and developing the use cases for themselves or for what they are selling to the enterprises. So the AI factory, as we call it, is kind of a proposition that we are seeing emerging. Particularly, telcos are quite well placed to monetize that, and we are at the early stages of that, and we are seeing early stages where the partnerships are there, specifically happening today, and we are also partnered with a few of our customers as well as the infrastructure partners to bring together this capability. So that is one realm of monetization beyond what the enterprise uses is what I'm seeing. The second, as I talked about, specifically to take media as an instance, right? Say, for instance, a lot is happening in the ad tech space or the advertisement space, right? So specifically around how do we increase the whole base of the ad tech industry and move into more realms of platformizing the whole advertising realm, right? So here where AI brings in a lot of capabilities in terms of personalization of the advertisement, so which can be used to lure more marketeers to come onto the platform, right? So we are seeing a lot of customers get into the realm of providing ad tech as a platform with infused very with AI becoming a core of it, where it provides marketeers the best option to provide personalized marketing to their audience segments, right? So there's a lot of new media in the mix there, particularly on the ad tech space, so which essentially becomes a monetization of the platform, which is enabled via AI, right? So that's again another realm of monetization that we see in terms of customers adopting. And as I mentioned, the third segment of our industry, which is the information services side, which is providing insights as a service predominantly, right? And where a lot of software-based products are continuing to up the game there. Where AI is generative AI, is plugged in as a core component of the product itself, right? Which allows customer to have more contextual leverage with respect to the core product itself. So that is creating a product differentiation for them, right? It essentially becomes a product differentiation, allowing them an uptick with respect to revenue. So these are some of the examples, would highlight in terms of monetization. And of course, as we speak today, the lot of adoption of generative AI is happening in the augmentation space. But I think the next realm of transformation where we will see this whole aspect of monetization will take a bigger leap.
Yeah, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So much opportunity ahead of us. At TCS, you work with really who's who and blue chip global companies. You really have quite a bird's eye view of what's happening within your clients. Any learning or that you might be able to share, any insights in working with these clients across the globe? What are the challenges they're encountering? What are the opportunities they see at this early juncture? What say you?
Sure, sure. While everybody all the enterprises want to embrace generative AI and use generative AI for, their enterprise, whether it is around improving productivity, efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
or for the case of, looking at revenue uptake or customer experience, etc. One of the biggest learning that we have seen is that, the use cases are very easy. The business case is very hard. Okay, so how
Mm.
do we crack the right business case, right, in terms of what provides the real value to the enterprise? So this is where careful curation of what essentially is a thoughtful implementation. What are those best use cases? What are those best solutions which needs to be taken up to productionize and implement, which will kind of really hit the nail with respect to impacting business metrics, right? So this is where a lot of enterprises are kind of still laying the I would call that the pathway towards the whole business dimension of what are the areas that they will need to really put their money on, invest in. So that is one aspect that I've seen across even large enterprises across the globe, right? The second aspect of it is, when the technology offers you so much to explore and do, it of course comes with a big cost, right? So
Mm.
it's very, very imperative that FinOps, or the financial side of it, what goes into not just fine tuning the model or contextualizing the model. How do we run the inferences? In fact, the computing infrastructure for the model and the ongoing management of it also, right? A lot of aspects of the cost in mix here. So setting up a good FinOps model is very, very crucial, right at the beginning. So because otherwise, the cost management becomes a very, very big aspect, right? And governance around this becomes very, very key. So that is one area that I see as a learning, that in terms of from FinOps, setting up the foundation of FinOps is very, very crucial, right, in terms of that. And the third one is, of course, we have seen where governance aspects are absolutely very critical, and things are not put in place in terms of the governance, whether it is overall from an adoption standpoint, from the enterprise security, privacy, the guardrails surrounding that, the usage of the AI, privacy aspects around it, and those are all very, very things can go wrong if those are not completely clearly addressed right from the start. So governance is a big area. And as with any technology adoption event that we have seen across the globe, technology is easy, change is hard. So obviously it goes with a lot of change as well, right? And of course generative AI use cases are not standalone, right? It needs to be integrated into the core fabric with whether it is the applications or the systems or the business process itself, right? So the integration is very, very key, and getting that whole change done, right, with respect to whether it is training the users, the skill set, all of that becomes very, very big aspects. So these are some of the challenges, but there are ways to work on this challenge with the right strategy and a right roadmap in place.
So many challenges, so many opportunities. We're all going to be very busy as technologists over the next years. Speaking of the future, let's talk a little bit about the future of work relative to AI. There's been a lot of media hype, a lot of fear, concern, but also excitement generated. How do you see the future of work evolving, maybe personally, as well as in the wider tech world, given all this change?
No, absolutely. So it has impacted all of us individually at a
Mm.
personal level in terms of how do we use these tools for our own daily day-to-day task to simplify a task, definitely, right? And from across the globe, if you look at if I specifically talk about the knowledge work, the industry of knowledge work,
Mm-hmm.
where the decisions are still made heavily by humans here, right? Okay, and AI will come to augment them, right? In terms of AI doesn't displace them per se, but AI is kind of augmenting them so that they are able to take better decisions, right? There are scenarios wherein AI would be able to do a part of the work that a human does, but there will always be a human in the loop, because while the technology comes with a lot of possibilities in terms of leaving the decisions completely in the hand of a machine or an AI is not something that I am not seeing many enterprises ready to take that gamble yet. Right. So it'll always be a human in the mix there. And particularly the knowledge industry, specifically, I've talked about, people who are in the operations, field operations personnel, contact center agents, so to say, or people providing customer support, etc., heavily relies on the tacit knowledge. So there are a lot of knowledge existing with the people in their minds, right? Which is not captured by the enterprise. So AI provides the opportunity to capture that tacit knowledge, and bring that in a document, that bring that and surface that in a very understandable way, right? In plain, common, understandable English language, which helps the knowledge worker to do their work or their service in a much better fashion, right? So that definitely is one. Yeah, I see. And specifically from the technology industry side, as from the software development or the operations perspective, and we at TCS, we provide services to customers across the globe, and we are heavily invested, and we are kind of embraced generative AI for our own ways of work in terms of the entire value chain of the software development, whether it is software development right from design to architecture, through development to testing, quality assurance, as well as operations. So so we've already embraced that, and and we have a large workforce which we are continuously training and equipping them, who are able to work, and provide those services to the customers. So big shift there, Ivan, and adoption is everybody. There's nobody left out of this game. So everybody is on the cusp of it.
Wow, exciting times. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. One final thought on a separate note. You've been a business and technology leader at TCS for 25 years. As a woman in tech, how do you think about getting more women into tech, more women software engineers, developers, and technologists of all kinds? Any you must have thoughts on that. Any suggestions to the industry, how we can embrace some more change, more diversity here?
Wow, you picked up my favorite topic, Ivan.
Okay.
Thanks for that. Yeah. So I would say many years back, when I chose this domain and was in the took up technology, many instances I found myself to be the solo woman in the room. But I'm happy to say that of late that's not the case. I see a lot of women, embracing technology and taking up technical roles within the industry. But a lot more needs to be done. So on a personal front, as well as within TCS, I can say that I'm championing a lot of initiatives which is about promoting women into more of technology roles. So I do a lot of personalized mentoring as well as coaching programs, both for not just for women but men as well, right? In terms of who aspire to move into leadership roles in technology. We do that, and of course, in specifically in North America, we have invested a lot in the STEM program as well, right? In terms of encouraging more, participation and more diversity into of the young aspirants who come into and adopt STEM based curricula in their pursuits as well. But I think more than all of it, in terms of the talent is out there, and I'd see no bars for anybody in terms of who's keen on the technology, who's interested to learn. Absolutely, the opportunities are out there for everybody, and I think organization wise also we are doing a lot to facilitate women, encourage more women to come up into technology leadership roles, and it's a continuous process, Ivan, and I'm doing my bit, and we're doing a lot as a TCS as a company as well, and of course the wider ecosystem also. A lot needs to be done, but
well, wonderful sentiment. Very nice to hear. We're headed in a positive direction, and thanks for sharing your time and insights, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to meet at one of the many industry events out there. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to TCS. They put out amazing content and amazing reports and insight and information. Lots to learn. Thanks, Sujatha.
Thank you, Ivan. Nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Likewise. Bye-bye.